I'm running for Judge Executive because I want to finish some of the work that I've already begun. I've served in this capacity now for 3 years. And when I began this job through the transitional meeting, being elected, there was a transitional meeting with the prior administration, and I was told I was inheriting a $2.5 million deficit spending budget. That kind of caught me by surprise. Not only did I have that for 1 year, they told me I would have that for each year while I was in public service as the county judge executive. So basically a $10 million deficit spending budget. That was very challenging for me, but I've never run away from a challenge, and I accepted that challenge. What I didn't expect was, when I got elected, of course, is a month into the job, I found that the jail was spending $80,000 a month in overtime, and which equates to $1 million a year in overtime alone. And the county golf courses were losing over $500,000. So I saw 3 major problems ahead of me that had to be dealt with. And I have successfully passed the test with each and every one of those. I've eliminated the deficit spending budget. I've balanced the budget. The jail now, in spending $1 million a year in overtime, has been turned into a net savings of $550,000 annually. And our county golf courses, instead of losing over $500,000, this year we came within $12,000 of balancing the budget. Those are challenges I accept. There's a lot of other challenges ahead. There's a lot of things that need to be done. My opponent, who's running against me, who served as a county commissioner in the prior administration, when they had problems, they solved them with having tax increases. They raised property taxes in 2007, 2008, 2009, and then it also created a new tax called the insurance premium tax in 2009. So, I would venture to say they didn't do it in 2010 because it was an election year. So my thing was, I saw those as big challenges for me. How can you balance the budget without raising taxes? And we've accomplished that. We've gotten rid of a lot of debt. Not only have we gotten rid of the debt, I've increased our county reserves by $5.8 million in the 3 years that I've been in office. And I've done that without property tax increases. So I found a lot of waste in the county government. We had in the Parks Department alone, for example, half the employees were supervisors. I found another individual working in the roads department was making $70,000 a year for a part-time job. And so when you find waste like that, it's very gratifying that you're doing something good to cut out a lot of expenses, to bring the budget in line, and to be successful. There's a lot of challenges ahead. Dealing with the heroin issue, for example, that's in front of us. It's in front of us and it's all around us. And that's another tough challenge, but it's going to have to be done on a regional approach, not individually by one county or another. So that's just one major event that's in front of us that I'm really looking forward to being involved in. I've been involved with it for the past 2 years, working with a lot of folks in collaboration, and we've got some great ideas together, but I want to see about finishing them through. I think my opponent and I, we're very similar in some ways. We're both nice individuals. We have wonderful families. We attend the same church. That's kind of the unique opportunity that we have going for us that probably most candidates don't have usually, at least not for a county-wide race. But that's where the separations really begin from that point on. I have found out when he was previously a county commissioner prior to this term that he's in today, he was a part of the past administration that solved all their problems by raising taxes. Raised them again in 2007, 2008, 2009, created the insurance premium tax in 2009, and I don't like that. I believe that you need to be able to solve problems without raising taxes. I've had a successful 3 years of doing that. I encountered a deficit spending budget of $2.5 million, which I didn't know about until the previous administration informed me of that just prior to taking office. What I didn't know as well is that in January, right after taking office, that the county jail was spending $80,000 a month in overtime. And not only that equates to $1 million a year. And then on top of that, we had the county golf courses losing over $500,000. And I changed general managers against the criticism of my opponent. And this year we came within $12,000 of breaking even. So he's criticized me for a lot of my successes. He's challenged me on a lot of successes. I found we were very top heavy in management positions. I eliminated a number of positions that equated to $600,000 in wages just out of the management side. And I was met with a lot of criticism by my opponent for doing that. He didn't feel that that was the right thing to do. But I felt when you're dealing with a $2.5 million deficit spending budget that you better figure out some ways to look at where there's waste. And so I've accomplished a lot of that. Those are tough decisions. They're not easy to make. But the bottom line is, you've got to do these things unless you want to just solve all your problems by raising taxes. And again, if I would have stayed on the plan that was in place for the previous administration, I would have had to continue raising taxes my 3 years in office every year. And so I didn't think that plan was going to work. So I created a business plan that made sense, a business plan that allowed for cuts and changes of how you're doing business. So by doing that, I've been able to hold the line on taxes. For the 3 years I've been in public office, I have not had to raise property taxes. So, and not only that, I've been able to increase our county reserves by $5.8 million. So you can do this job. You can run it without raising taxes. So I think clearly that's the biggest thing that separates the two of us of how we manage the business. I think there's two issues that I think that are very relevant today. One is the heroin issue, and the other one is economic development. I think both of those they both are tied together, quite frankly. The heroin issue we know is very prevalent throughout northern Kentucky. I've been one of the supporters of trying to resolve this issue for the past 2 years. I'm one of the individuals that corralled all of the different social agencies together and said, you guys come up, you're the professionals out there, you come up with the plans of what you think we need to do, and our job as public leaders would be to find out how to raise the money to make it happen. So I've been very deeply involved with the heroin epidemic for the past couple of years. That issue, I think we're doing some great things right now. We've really kind of identified what needs to be done, the 3-step program that needs to take place. Who's going to lead this thing. St. Elizabeth is now on board with trying to be a partner with us. And so we've made some great progress, but there's many steps ahead of us. If we're going to succeed in resolving the heroin issue, though, I need and I want, I believe, all 8 counties of the Northern Kentucky region, what we call the ADS district, to participate as members to solving this problem. This cannot be a problem solved by Kenton, Campbell, or Boone County by ourselves. It's a regional problem. We all need to address it. So I want to stay focused on that issue and make sure that we've got some element in place that shows some line of progress in the next couple of years. As far as the economic development and the job growth that comes with that, I think we always need to be cognizant of what we need to do to improve opportunities around here. The College of Informatics, for example, at Northern has created a great deal of opportunities for entrepreneurship throughout the region. And so that's been a great success story that we all like to talk about. But it's not just that College of Informatics, it's also other opportunities out there that we all need to be looking at. Since I've been on the board of Triad, for example, I know that there's been 18 companies that have landed in Kenton County alone, and there's been over 1,000 jobs added to Kenton County. And so those are progressive numbers that are very good for us, they're good for the region, and it's something we need to focus on. But where that comes back into tying in with the heroin and drug problem is, I was at a conference with the governor of Kentucky was at, and about 3 years ago he was talking about the heroin epidemic problem and drug abuse in general, substance abuse, and that there are companies today throughout Kentucky are changing their drug policies and relaxing them because they're having such difficulty finding employees that can pass a drug test, or employees who are randomly selected who are failing drug tests. And so when we have to start making that kind of an adjustment into the business community, we are affecting the future job growth and the future of Kentucky as a whole. So those two elements, I think that's why I tied economic development with the heroin issue, because I think together, they are a paramount issue that we need to stay focused on. When I took office 3 years ago, one of the things that we were doing was meeting with the other judge executives, all 3 from Boone County and Campbell County. And we have looked at ways of working together in collaboration, looking at ideas and ways that we can work and improve what we do today collectively. And I know that a lot of the things we have done and focused on is sharing of services when and where practical. We've looked at legislation that affects all of us. We've looked at the experiences we've had with the 911 dispatch, for example. We did have an individual that brought in as a consultant to look at the 3 county systems of what we had. And he noticed that we had three systems in Kenton County, for example. And so one of the first things was that we needed to eliminate three centers and try to get those reduced to one in Kenton County. He told me that we need to get our own house in order first before we could worry about trying to do something on a broader scale. And so, we began to work on that. But we are behind in the technology side. We have an outdated system as far as the type of the services of how it's delivered. We do not have I'll call the modern 800 megahertz system. So, the 800 megahertz systems have been around for at least 20, 25 years or more, and we don't have that. We're in the monologue system. And so communications for our police and fire and safety, EMS individuals, is challenging sometimes because we can't communicate with each other. There's difficulty in the communications unless you're on switching channels. And so it's just more complicated, especially if you're trying to cross county lines or city lines, because the cell phones and the radio technology, they don't recognize borders, but they do recognize frequencies and how you talk to each other. That's one area of collaboration that I think we continue to work on, and we'll see what we can do to work on that on a regional basis. Locally here in Northern Kentucky, we also have obviously a lot of governments, a lot of city municipal governments. We've got a lot of mutual expenses, and there's been a big push by many of us, myself included, to try to look at identifying ways of where we can collaborate together, share services where practical, cut some costs, maybe even, again, merge some systems like we did with the dispatch. There's a number of folks that are out there that believe that we can work together and come up with some ideas that might be beneficial to everyone. It doesn't mean that cities will disappear. But if there are ways that we can collaborate together, let's say three cities, for example, come together and have one fire district, for example, as opposed to one city having a fire department and two or three other cities not having one. Is there ways that we can better provide that service to the community? So there's opportunities out there. I think they're endless, quite frankly. I think there's a lot of things we can do, but we need to talk about working together, and I think that begins with people that you can trust. I've built up a very good rapport with all the city officials. Most all the mayors in Kenton County are endorsing my campaign. They know that we've worked together well on the dispatch merger. It took over 2 years to accomplish that merger, but the fact of the matter is that merger is allowing us to save $2.1 million over a 5-year period. So if the cities of Erlanger, Crescent Springs, and Ellesmere were coming on to join us, that savings across this county would be significantly higher. The reason it would be significantly higher, there's two reasons. One, we wouldn't have to hardly add any personnel more than we currently have to add those three cities on. And the other thing is technology. Approximately every 6 years, it costs about an additional $1 million to upgrade one CAD system, if you will, one dispatch center. Across no matter who owns it. So previously, for example, Kenton County had one, Erlanger had one, and Covington had one. So there's $3 million in upgrades that's needed every 6 years. So if we have just one center, that's only $1 million in upgrades for one center. And we right there automatically save $2 million just by the elimination of that duplication. That's just one example. There's many examples out there. But I think that, again, they're endless, and I think we just have to have the right people in office that want to work together, look for opportunities of collaboration, and I think I'm the right person to do that. I believe that yet remains to be seen. And I say that because when I was elected the first time, I had some grandiose ideas about merging the county police with the county sheriff's department. I had other ideas of merging dispatch. I had other ideas of looking at where we can share in services, reduce costs, and great ideas. But it took us 2.5 years just to get the merger of the 911 dispatch centers to take place with all the cities involved. You think it sounds quick, it sounds simple, but everybody's got their own opinions about what should and shouldn't be. And so those things, they begin to change your mind of thinking about how you're going to accomplish things. And in my case, I had all those grand ideas in place, But then I didn't expect to be tossed a curveball of a $2.5 million deficit spending budget from the previous administration. And that changed my way of thinking too, because it went from a thinking of mergers and sharing of services to how do I keep us afloat without going under? And so my whole element of train of thought went a different path. And so I had to deal with other issues. I didn't know I was going to have to deal with a tornado in the middle of all this that had damaged 88 homes and 4 residents in Kenton County were killed. I didn't know I was going to have to deal with 2 floods that came upon us. So things like that, it's not just how can things be different, but what can you do to manage the moment? And so I've been really blessed to have had enough experience in the background of, with me to say, I can deal with all these issues. And so what I want to do is continue to do my best to say, I've done my best to hold the line on taxes as much as I can. And so far, I've not had to raise property taxes. And the significant part of that is when companies start looking about ideas of expanding or coming to your region, and you're one of those areas that holds the line on taxes, you're giving them another reason to why they want to come to Northern Kentucky. Another thing that I hope to have accomplished in this term as well, we need a new administration building. Our current building is half full. We have 10 floors in the building. 5 of those sit empty today where the former jail used to be. A lot has been depleted out. Materials have been removed. It just needs to be completely gutted, and we're trying to sell that building. So I think you might very well see a new county building in the next 4 years. And I also hope that because we've been acquiring a lot of lands along Banklick Creek, because of all the flooding that's taken place, we're in the process of acquiring 42 homes right now along Banklick Creek. Well, Banklick Creek is about 30 acres. The Pioneer Park itself is currently about 30 acres. But there's also just beyond Pioneer Park, just down the road a little further, is called Doe Run Lake. And Doe Run Lake has 190 acres to it. If we can continue to acquire those lands through the FEMA program that we're working on right now, the homes that are down there that have been destroyed by all the flooding that's taking place, if we can continue to buy those parcels up through their assistance, we have enough reserves built up at this point in time that we can buy the vacant land in between the 2 parks. And I do believe that we could create a 600+ acre park in that part of central Kenton County, if you will, in the suburban areas. And that would be second to DeVue Park in Northern Kentucky. So that's something that we're working on right now. I've met with our Parks and Recreation Commission. I've given them some plans. I've kind of put it in their hands to carry the ball. But the fact of the matter is the opportunity is there, and I don't want us to miss it. So I do believe that there's a great opportunity that you may see Kenton County with another 600 acre park here in the next few years.